On today's episode of Time About the Movies, we are taking a look at how Mike met Sully at Monsters University, the sequel, prequel to Monsters Incorporated. Mostly a prequel, but there's a little bit of stuff that continues on from the previous movie, but we'll touch on that one. We'll also take a look at Brad Pitt starring in the action thriller World War Z, and we also have a movie that I should have talked about a couple weeks ago. It's Craig Robinson's second Rapture comedy of the month, and that is, before the previous one was This Is the End. Here is Rapture-Palooza with Anna Kendrick. We'll take a look at that. June 21st, 2013, the first day of summer 2013. This is Time About the Movies.
Imagine a university
where I can be unique
in a family of thousands,
where I can love to learn
and learn what I love.
Time for a celebration!
Woo! We'll be ready.
5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 8, turn! Yeah! James B. Sullivan.
I'm gonna be a scarer.
Whoa, were you kissing my hand?
And what about you with all your shedding?
I don't shed.
Really? Just wait, Hotshot. I'm gonna scare circles around you this year.
You're not even in the same league with me.
Whoa! Ow! Oh,
The MU cafeteria has some of the best chefs in the world.
Welcome to Scaring 101.
You don't need to study scaring, you just do it.
That is a good point.
You might want to hang out with someone a little more your speed.
Want to join Who's McCappa? We have cake.
If you're not scary, what kind of a monster are you?
I'm Art, New Age philosophy major. Thought you might like to keep a dream journal.
Is that a joke?
The Scare Games! A super intense scaring competition.
You could totally die.
And it's worth it.
If you lose, you will leave Monsters University.
Fine. Behold, my brothers of Uzma Kappa.
I have an extra toe. Not with me, of course. Let's begin the first competition.
Good luck, ladies.
Thanks! We're gonna rip you to pieces!
Tentacles and serpent's wings, they... Don't go in there!
Just reach deep down and let the scary out.
Tonight we party like scarers!
I can't be late on the first day.
And welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the three films that make up June 21st, 2013. And we start off with easily the biggest of the new releases, Monsters University from Disney and Pixar, who came off of the previous summer with previous couple summers with an underwhelming film in Cars 2, and then Brave the year before. Here they return going back to their franchises in general here, and essentially creating a much more enjoyable movie than the last couple they put out. This one, you have Mike Wazowski, played by Billy Crystal, and James B. Sullivan, voiced by John Goodman, who are an inseparable pair, but that was not always the case. From the moment these two mismatched monsters met at Monsters University, they couldn't stand each other, and this unlocks the door to how Mike and Sully overcame their differences and became the best of friends. And while it wasn't a classic by any means necessary, the first Monsters, Inc. movie is a fun movie. Its creativity, the characters, the story, the feel of it, it's definitely out in the open. They can do whatever they want with it, and they made it work. It has a good heart to it, and while it's not up there with some of Pixar's best movies, it's still an overall really good movie. But I think most people could agree, we really didn't need a prequel to this per se, honestly. In fact, when this was coming out, a lot of people were saying, oh, it's just a cash grab for Pixar. And while I can't argue that, a prequel for this is certainly a lot better than another Cars movie after Cars 2. And yeah, needless to say, this one definitely lived up to the hype and then some. I really enjoyed the hell out of this movie a lot. I think I actually kind of enjoyed it a little bit more than Monsters, Inc., which is hard to say, but Yeah, I thought it was actually a really fun movie all across the board. Like, with a film like this is the end the week before, it doesn't pull a BS cop out at you with the third act, and it allows you to enjoy what's going on, and it lets you just go in guns blazing, pretty much. Not guns blazing in this case, but you get the idea. It's the best thing they've made since Toy Story 3, honestly, and you can see the visual look of the film is much more impressive than it was in the first film. The characters are much fun they were in the previous film. The creativity, you can see that it's coming back into play with this one, unlike in Cars 2 and in Brave, which Brave was literally just Brother Bear, except this time by Pixar, and slightly better, but not by that much. But not only do you have the return of Mike and Sully, working well off each other. Billy Crystal and John Goodman just have that great connection together. They keep what we like about them in this movie as well. You do believe in their rivalry. You do believe that these two did start off as enemies at first and then became friends along the way. But I liked a lot of the new characters too. I love the designs of some of these characters as well. Again, this is where the creativity really is coming back into play here. You got these great characters like Art, voiced by Charlie Day, but it's Charlie Day. The guy can do anything and make it hilarious. And the Dean, played very well by Helen Mirren, who has this really cool design to it. And Mirren just creates that great voice that fits that character perfectly as well. A lot of the other characters are memorable too, but those are the two that really stuck out with me the most. A lot of them are really good, and I do really like what they were able to do with them overall. Like I said, the visuals overall are really impressive. You could tell they've upped the ante on the visual aspects of the movies in general here. Because in original Monsters, Inc., it looked like something kind of out of Toy Story in general. But this time you could definitely tell the technology has advanced in the 12 years since then. And you can definitely sense that there is much more effort into the creativity of it. From the designs of the colleges, the pavement designs are very funny, are very well, impressively put together too. I like the overall story of it. I like the fact that this is coming from a first-time writer and directing team, and it's a good directorial effort from the overall. In fact, if I remember correctly, I think the person who directed this just recently directed Elemental, if I'm not mistaken. Is this a Peter Sohn movie? No, it's not. It's Dan Scanlon. But Dan Scanlon also did, I think he did Onward, if I'm not mistaken. Why did I get this wrong too? No, he did Onward. Onward was actually really good. It was a very underrated Pixar film that unfortunately just came out around the time of COVID, but that we'll save that for 2020. But, this one overall really was enjoyable. I like the fact that there was a lot more heart to it than most people expected it to be. Like, Mike's whole dream is essentially to just come in and be a scarer right off the get-go, and he realizes at some point down the road, like, he's just not worthy of doing so, but that doesn't mean he's completely useless overall, and eventually that leads him into what him and Sully would do in Monsters Incorporated. There are a couple of things I will say that are kind of nitpicky things in general here. First off, there's way too stacked of a cast in this movie in terms of the name recognition, because as I mentioned, Billy Crystal, John Goodman, Charlie Day, Helen Mirren, but you also have Alfred Molina, Sean Hayes, Dave Foley, Aubrey Plaza, Tyler Labine, Nathan Fillion, John Krasinski, Bonnie Hunt, Bill Hader, Bobby Moynihan, Julia Sweeney, Beth Bears. I mean, there's a lot of names in here, and it literally felt like a movie where Pixar just called any big star they knew out there that would want to do this and just say, hey, come on in and do this. It does get a little bit distracting overall here. And not to say that it's bad per se, but because there were too many recognizable names out of it, you would think Pixar would be kind of above just casting all these big stars in general, which more recently they have been lesser than that, because we've had Elio, we had Elemental, those movies in general here. DreamWorks and 20th Century Fox can kind of get away with it because that's been kind of their norm since they started doing that with Ice Age and the Shrek films, but you kind of expect a little bit better with Pixar in general here. Hell, Fox did the same thing not too long ago with Epic, like casting these big stars, which really didn't feel necessary. Like, I always remember Steven Tyler as the Scroll Keeper, and it's just like, they could have just gone for a lesser-known actor, but no, we gotta go get the guy for Aerosmith just for shits and giggles. With that said, I do really like this movie a lot. I think they did I think this is actually a really good film overall, and it was a pretty good year for prequels from Disney, because remember, they did Oz the Great and Powerful, too. I really enjoy this movie a lot. I think it's very entertaining. A lot of good characters, a lot of good story, good laughs, impressive visuals. You can see the juices coming back into play in the creative aspect for Pixar here that was missing in Cars 2 and Brave. And this definitely is a movie that I highly recommend checking out. If you love Monsters, Inc., you're going to love the hell out of Monsters University. I like it a little bit better than Monsters, Inc., which I know is somewhat be blasphemous by some people, but hey, it made a great film overall, and it shows that, hey, Pixar is back and doing just as well as they've ever been, at least for now. But we'll see as we go along here. But With all that said, let's go ahead and get on to the other big blockbuster release this weekend, and that is Brad Pitt in World War Z.
President is dead. Europe still dark. What is this? I don't know. Life as we know it will come to an end in 90 days. It's on us to change that.
I'm scared.
Keep your eyes on Mommy and Dad. Be niche and quiet.
How do we know they're coming?
They're coming. Ready? To see what happens next, tweet hashtag World War Z.
Or you can just go and watch the movie. Please go and watch the movie. What the fuck was that at the end of that? But this is, of course, World War Z. This is, of course, based off of the Max Landis book of the same name, which is sort of like that, but I'll touch on that just a little bit here. But in the movie, you have a former United Nations investigator played by Brad Pitt, who him and his family seems content with their life, but then the world is plagued by a mysterious infection, turning whole human populations into rampaging, mindless zombies. After barely escaping the chaos, Lane is persuaded to go on a mission to investigate the disease. What follows is a perilous trek around the world where Lane must brave horrific dangers and long odds to find answers before human civilization falls. Now here's the kicker here. This is not based off of the Max Landis book, and that was one of the big things that I remember when the trailers were coming out for this, because you have a book with a lot of great material to it that screams out a really good movie, but the writers decided to just take the title and just go with an original story. Now, it doesn't hurt the overall feel of the movie, but I'll tell you, the marketing for the film overall was pretty rough. The trailers looked pretty bad all across the board, and yeah, the CG zombies, it's fun. It sounds like a cool aspect overall, but once you see it in the movie, it just looks ridiculous. I mean, the scene where they're putting a pyramid together to go over this wall, like, that should be badass, but it looks incredibly stupid. It looks really, really stupid overall. And those are major flaws that I have with the story. I'll just spell those right away. Brad Pitt's family is really annoying in this. I'm not going to be harsh on the kids because it's probably their first acting jobs overall, but I really don't like Morel Enos, who is from The Killing. It was a show on AMC, and everyone, you know, this was back when AMC was the hot shit to go to for original shows like Breaking Bad and Mad Men. She really annoyed me because of just how the acting is done here. Like, you could tell that that show in particular didn't really leave a lasting impact with me, because I watched it. I was never really a fan of it. I thought the acting was kind of bland and forgettable. And, you know, it's one of the worst things AMC had ever done at that point as far as a TV show goes. But my main problem with Pitt's wife is that she has two of the worst lines in the entire movie. It's because the actress really isn't giving her all into it, but it's not that she's not giving her all to it. She's doing it way too hard. She's acting way too much harder than she needs to for a film like this, and putting more emphasis on the dramatic on this because she thinks this is going to be Oscar caliber territory here. And it's just like, yeah, we know you're on The Killing, but there's a little thing called stretching your acting abilities, and then there's just overdoing it so you think you can get an Oscar out of it. It just didn't work with me overall. But like I said, the biggest problem with the movie is making the zombies computer-generated. I think I can speak at everyone else when I say zombies are much more scarier when they're real, not computer-generated. You need the best people from people like Weta Digital, Industrial Light and Magic to make the CG work here. They don't do that. It looks fake as hell. And it does affect the key scenes in the movie that should be presented. I mean, the stupidest scene in the trailer is the airplane scene because of how cartoonishly bad the final bit of it is when the zombies or people are flying out of the open part of the airplane. Like, that should be a badass scene. But in the trailer, it just looks so terrible because of the fact that it's CG zombies. Like, which is why I was hoping they'd do a sequel for this, because put the effort into putting real zombie effects in there. Like, do The Walking Dead. Like, it'll be much more time consuming, but you know what? It'll look more realistic than this pile of garbage did. But with that said, there are good things about it. I do like a lot of good things. I mean, I think the rest of the cast overall is very good. Brad Pitt's very likable in this. He actually is doing a great job playing the leading role here. We get some good performances from Matthew Fox, James Badge Dale, and David Morse. The story overall is very well done. They do a pretty good job of giving us an entertaining story despite it not being adapted from the book. And it has a pretty good 3-act structure up until the final act. As you remember from the film's production, the final act had to be consistently rewritten until the master of terrible third acts, Damon Lindelof, came into play. And it's just like, really, dude, you're going to do this again? This is like the 4th movie where you've come in here and you've ruined the third act of a movie that was working okay. I mean, again, this has been a really bad summer, but not just for sequels, but third acts in general. There are some really, really bad third acts that came out around this time period. With that said, though, it's bad, but it's not as bad as the other movies Lindelof helped to write with. It does manage to keep up the pace with the rest of the film, and it makes more logistical sense than some of the other movies that he's been involved in. Like, yeah, it's the worst, but it's not as bad as it could have been. It's not another Star Trek Into Darkness, pretty much. But my overall thoughts on it is, it's a good movie. It's a really good film. It definitely is not a perfect movie by any means necessary, but the acting is still pretty good. The action can be pretty good. The story does work very well, and it does keep your investment throughout the film. I just wanted the zombies to look better and look more realistic, and the family to be more likable. And I'm hoping that we were going to get that sequel, because they've been talking about doing a sequel since this came out, since this was a massive hit. You know, Juan Antonio Bayona from the Jurassic World movies came in, was going to direct at one point. Then they said they were going to get David Fincher to do it, and then he just dropped it all together. Which, okay, so we basically just have a zombie movie that has promise to it, but will never get the proper continuation that we were expecting for. So they can so they can fix a lot of the problems with it. So, yeah, overall good movie, not a great film overall. Definitely could have been a whole lot better. I'll just put it at that. So that is World War Z. Now let's go ahead and move on to the last one we have here, which I should have talked about 2 weeks ago, and that is Craig Robinson in the second of his 2 apocalypse comedies in June 2013, alongside Anna Kendrick. This is Rapture-Palooza.
See, it all started with the Rapture. Oh, it's so dumb.
What is that?
I think it's raining blood.
Oh, well, that's great. Now it's all smeared.
Ow! You little fucker!
Hey, you! Yeah, you! Fuck you! Ha!
Why do we just let them insult us like this?
I know.
Yeah, walk away, pussy!
Be careful of the rain, squad!
Whatever.
I will destroy you. Just one joint, man.
Fuck, fine. Here you go.
Thanks, man.
I mean, the trailer does have a lot of good funny aspects to it, like the fact that everything in this world is a kind of an asshole. The bugs, the crows, the zombies. Like, that's a fun concept overall. Concept, however, doesn't equate to a good movie if the script isn't great either. But you have 2 teams played by Anna Kendrick and John Francis Daly who battled their way through a religious apocalypse on a mission to defeat the Antichrist, played by Craig Robinson. And right off the bat, you can tell it's kind of ripping off This Is the End. And sure enough, like I said, This Is the End was in theaters around that time. But unlike most rip-off movies, this is not released by the Asylum and actually got decent reviews. So, I mean, I watched it. I got it at a Walmart when it was on sale and when it came out, and it's all right. It's not a great movie. It is certainly not as bad as This Is the End. It's not as much of a ripoff as This Is the End as you might think. It's not celebrities getting stuck in the middle of the apocalypse. It's a much different story altogether. I think what helps it is the script by Chris Matheson, who wrote Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. It does a good job of making us like these characters overall. You like Kendrick and Daly as this couple, but you also want to see them succeed in trying to survive, and you like the assholery of Craig Robinson's Antichrist character. There's a lot of good people in here. Rob Corddry, John Michael Higgins, Anna Gasteyer, Thomas Lennon, Ken Jeong, Rob Hubble. And it's only about 85 minutes long, so it's paced enough where it never feels like it's wasting your time. It's giving you exactly what you want for here. The comedy mostly comes from the small little things there. We saw a little bit from there, you know, a little bit from the trailer there. The human characters, you know, the birds talking shit to the human characters, raining blood. You know, there's a great character where Francis Daly shoots down Jesus on a horse. Like, not all the jokes work, but there's a couple in here that do overall make me laugh pretty hard. It's all the smaller ones here and there. And there really isn't any big laugh-out-loud moments in there, but it does get some of those little jokes that, you know, that do work overall. The special effects are not that great, but you can tell it's a much smaller movie compared to This Is the End. But, yeah, overall, it's an okay movie. It's not a great movie by any means necessary. Like, in a summer where we had apocalyptic comedies like This Is the End, and then later we'll have The World's End, yeah, this one's not even going to compete for that. It's not anywhere close to that. But for a direct-to-video movie, a direct-to-DVD movie on the same veins as something like Gary the Tennis Coach or Happy Thank You More Please, which is how I saw them, direct-to-DVD, but you might actually find a lot to admire about it. There is good things about it. Nothing too spectacular, nothing too amazing, but it's a good movie overall. Not great, not bad, just good. So that's my thoughts on Rapture-Palooza. If it comes on cable anytime soon or is available to rent, I say definitely check it out. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies. After a couple of good weeks of good movies, of course, we're going to end the month off with a week of not-so-great movies. And this is going to be another one of those ones that I know a lot of people will hate me for saying this, but I really didn't like The Heat back then, and I'll tell you, I don't like it now. Sandra Bullock, Melissa McCarthy starring in this, directed by Paul Feig. It was a big hit when it came out, but I was one of the few people that did not like it back then. I still don't remember liking it nowadays, but who knows? Maybe my thoughts have changed on it. Maybe I'm just over-exaggerating here. I'll watch it and I'll tell you my thoughts on it tomorrow. But I can tell you one movie that has not gotten better in the years since then. The second of the Die Hard and the White House movies, White House Down with Channing Tatum and Jamie Foxx, directed by Roland Emmerich. Which should already tell you that that's not a good sign if Roland Emmerich's directing a movie like this. So we'll take a look at those two movies to wrap June up tomorrow on the show, so stay tuned for that. With all that said, though, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. With all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.